Hello everyone, I'm Colin Kinnett, and today I'm holding up something called fluting. And if you look carefully on the ends, you'll notice that it's rounded, and I'm holding it in such a way that the light gives it an accent. And this is typically what you'll see sometimes on table legs, very often on fireplace surrounds, sometimes on bookcases, all sorts of different places where people will put these kind of little extra details just to sort of bring out the accent of something. And it's called fluting. And today we're going to make a jig that you can accurately and repeatably make fluting on whatever it is you want and be able to replicate it every time. Okay, so let's figure out the parts that we're going to need. So this base happens to be 3.5 inches in diameter because we're going to need to cut this plastic here that's a little bit hard to see. So it's going to be cut at 4.5 inches. Now the other thing that we need to do, we need to cut some strips that the plastic is going to be able to ride against. So it's going to be riding back and forth, and I want to use plywood because it's not going to expand and contract like a natural wood will do. So I'm going to go and cut those first of all, and I'll go and trim the plastic according to what our dimensions are, and that should, once we do all that, that will tell us what the size of the base is going to be. Okay, there's the pieces that I've just cut, and that will be the bottom, so that's where that plastic will slide, and these will fit over top and hold that down from moving. So that's all good. So all I need to do now is to trim the base. Okay, I've just taken the screws out of the plastic base, and that's going to sit like that. Now there's the little piece of metal that needs to sit up there that's going to attach to the ready rod that will drive that back and forth. So I need to make sure that I leave some room for that. I can drill the pilot holes by hand, but I'm going to go over to the drill press when I need to use the Forstner bit. We can test those by putting the screw from the little trim router in there, and it just barely clears that hole, so that's perfect. And while I'm here at the drill press, I might as well drill the through holes. Now that's a pretty big bit, and although I'm only going through 1/4 inch plastic here, there's still a chance that this is going to spin on me, so I want to make sure I have a good grip, and I'll use this wooden clamp. Well, first of all, let's check to make sure that that plate is going to sit on there. Okay, I just took a moment and attached the front piece of this. That will be the slider. Okay, our little jig's coming along very nicely. Now, I need to put an anchor point on here, and that will look like that. What I inadvertently did was when I put these strips on here, I put them from end to end, and I meant to leave a little bit of space on this because I pre-cut this. So I've just gone to the table saw and I just cut this little piece off here, and these aren't in there all that solidly because right at the end I didn't put very much glue in, and I think I can just kind of pop those out of there. I'll just clean those up a little bit, but that'll fit in there like that. And what I'm going to do in a second here, I'll just clean these up with the chisel, and then we'll go over to the drill press, and I'm going to drill 2 holes down in there because that's the best way that I can fasten these down here and still have this part removable if I want to do some adjusting. Now, the next part that I need to do, you can see that I put the bolts in here, and they're just in here temporarily for now, but I need to cut a hole in here for the bit to go through so that it can drop down in there. And so what I'm going to do, I made a couple of marks here, and I'm going to drill a couple of Forstner bits here, and then I'll just use my jigsaw and just cut that out because I want to make sure that I leave this, this has to be solid. This wants to be solid across here. Okay, there's where we're at so far, and what I need to do is attach this, and I've just cut the top of this off. This had 4 holes up in the top. I've just reduced that to 1 because I don't need the height, and I've marked a couple of holes there in the center. I'm just off camera, I'm just going to drill those holes and fasten a couple of bolts in there so that this piece of metal will then be fastened to the plastic. There you can see the progress I'm making. I've got the little L bracket on there, but what I need to do now, and I still haven't fastened this down as you can tell with the bolts still sticking up, but what I need to do now is I need to center a hole in this area right here. Okay, this is sort of the dry fit, if you will. There's the T-nut, and it will fit in the back hole right there. And what I need to do now is I need to put some tiny screws in there to fasten that down. Then this will anchor here on this L bracket, and that will move that back and forth. Okay, I've fastened the T-nut, and I just put a couple of screws on there, cap screws on there, and now I just need to fasten these bolts down, and I'm going to do that. Then I'll thread the ready rod through, and we'll affix it to the L bracket here, and we'll be ready to go. Okay, we're finally assembled, so let me show you a bit of a close-up here so you understand how this works. So this is one of those nuts that self-affixing or self-locking, and I've got 2 nuts that are locked together. So see how this area spins like this? It spins free between the L bracket down here, and then of course on this side I have the T-nut, and it's locked to this backing plate, and then this is just a handle that I took off another project because I didn't want to take time to make one right now because I wanted to see if this thing works. So it's just locked to the ready rod now. So basically when you turn this one way or the other, you can see that this, however many turns I make it, will allow this router to move back and forth. So now when I decide on the fluting that I want to make, I can decide how many revolutions before the next flute. So let's put this to the test and see if this works. Okay, I'm about to give this give this little jig a little test, and what I'm going to do, this is no different than a stop dado. So what I'm going to do, I've just got a piece of scrap wood that I'm just going to run a couple of flutes down on, and I'm going to be dropping it down, and I need to make sure that I run in the rotation of the router. So in this case, I'm going to be dropping it down here, pulling it back like this. Then I'm going to twist this a predetermined number of times until I move the bit to a different location. Then I'm going to go back and do the second plunge cut. And it doesn't need to be very deep. Remember, we're only making flutes here. So anyway, let's give this a whirl. There, those turned out they're perfect. They're perfectly aligned. They're nice and straight. There's a tiny bit of burning at the top here. That's partially because of the wood and partially because I didn't move it a little bit quicker. You could sand that out, or in some cases this is just going to be painted anyway. So anyway, that's the little fluting jig, and it works like a charm. I'm very impressed. Well, that concludes my video on making the fluting bit. And you know what? You'll be able to figure out tons of places where you can use something like this. And what I really like about this is now I've got even another place that I can use my trim router. I'm Colin Canet for WoodWorkWeb. Thanks for watching.